we have come to the realization that to continue forward, something has to change. We have to service less households so that we can build out those other things, or we have to continue to service the households that we want, or bring in other talent to take over those new responsibilities and roles. We have gotten to the point now where we have to do something. We have to make a change.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Connected Advisor. I'm your host, Kyle Van Pelt, co-founder and CEO of Milemarker. And today I am joined by Seth Merrill. Seth is a partner at the Norden Group, and he is the heir to University of Arizona royalty, people with facilities named after them at the University of Arizona and a wonderful athletic legacy there. Seth, thanks so much for joining the show.
I appreciate it, Kyle, and thanks for stretching the royalty part dramatically, but appreciate that.
No problem, man. You look like royalty to me.
No, thank you. Thank you.
So, Seth, I start every one of these podcasts off the same way, and today's not going to be any different. So I have the privilege of getting able to have pushing on thousands of conversations now around this. And what I've found is that everybody has their own unique path to this industry, right? So Some of those paths might be traditional. Unique doesn't mean it can't be traditional, but maybe some people followed in family footsteps to get here. Maybe some people came in the side door of the industry. But whether your path is traditional or untraditional, I have found that everybody has what we call a money moment in their life. And that's a moment where the light bulb goes off, something clicks, something happens where you, Seth, said, no matter what my path was to this space, this happened, and I want to spend my time serving people and doing this from a financial services perspective. So what was that money moment that led you to the industry?
Yeah, it probably goes back to my senior year in college. I was actually studying exercise science. I thought I wanted to go to physical therapy school, and I had a year left in my studies, and I was like, I am done with the sciences. I don't want to do this anymore. So I would say the industry found me more than I found the industry. I had a buddy that was in the life insurance industry, and I looked at his career and I thought, well, he makes good income and he has a lot of time freedom. I'm looking for those two things. I probably did come in the side door more than in the front door because I was introduced to the life insurance industry. And then eventually that led me to comprehensive financial planning.
That's awesome. What was it like starting in the life insurance industry? Because I think it takes a certain amount of resilience and grit, a lot of places in this space, but a certain amount of resilience and grit to get into that space and not wash out.
Yeah, so I'm one of the lucky ones, I guess. I don't know what the statistics are. I don't know how many people wash out, but I was definitely blessed and had some luck along the way. I was single when I started the business. I had played a little bit of college basketball and I thought I wanted to get into refereeing. And so I was making enough money refereeing that I could pay the bills. It bought me time to make it in the life insurance industry, and that led to making some connections in the investment world, and then getting a mentor in the investment world. And like I said, then that turned into more of a comprehensive financial planning career. But without the background of the life insurance industry, I don't think it would have led me to the comprehensive financial planning career that I've been able to enjoy.
That's awesome. All right. I got to ask, this has nothing to do with financial planning, but you dropped that interesting insight about wanting to be a referee. What is something where referees are often misunderstood or people don't understand what it's like to be one? Because everybody loves to hate on referees, right? But it's not as easy as it looks, right?
Yeah. I wish that we could bring all the fans down to the court and give them a whistle and then let them experience how quick the game moves while they're on the court, as opposed to sitting up way up high in the rafters and being able to see, oh, that's a travel. Well, yeah, no kidding. You're 300 yards away. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. I think, wasn't it this past summer, the summer before, during Summer League, they gave Richard Jefferson a whistle? I mean, this guy was a longtime NBA player. And as soon as he puts a whistle in his mouth, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, crap, this is not as easy as being like, that's a travel. That's it, So yeah, it would be good for all fans to come down. I think the funniest times are when you're refereeing the third grade basketball games and you got the mom yelling 3 seconds over and over and over. And you're like, I played basketball my whole life. I do know what 3 seconds is, but the key is huge to them. We are not going to call 3 seconds on every possession down the court. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. I appreciate what you're saying because, like, I feel that way a lot when I watch football, and I'm thankful for replay and that they can turn things over and stuff. But when you watch a replay and it's frame by frame, and you see that as the guys fall into the ground and the nose of the ball touches the ground, it's like, how can they miss that? It's like, no, you're supposed to be able to see that in a tenth of a second and make that call perfectly. Like, come on, give the guy some grace or the gal some grace here.
And the majority of the times they're actually right, which is actually super impressive when you're looking at it frame by frame and you're like, man, 90% of the time they're actually getting that call right.
Yeah, I played baseball most of my life up through college, and it's easy to hate on home plate umpires too, and we can move on from the referee thing. But I watched a couple things, and it's like they don't have a box, right, that they're using, right? They don't have any of that. They just have their eyes, and they have what's in front of them. And I saw something on YouTube once where it was like, hey, how can you be more accurate than an umpire? And they had them get back there and do it. And nobody could beat a major league umpire, right? MLB average was like 94% accuracy. And these YouTubers who were like pretty good, played a lot of baseball, all that stuff. They were constantly in like the mid 80s, right? And it's like, they were like, yeah, you would fail every time. It's just way harder than I think it looks. And so ultimately what I'm saying is shout out to everybody who actually does referee, whether it is third grade basketball or all the way up, because you're very appreciated in the world.
Kyle, maybe I just like punishment. I chose to go the life insurance route, and then I chose to go the referee route. I don't know. Maybe I just like people yelling at me. Maybe it's something I got to figure out.
Man, yeah, that's a funny perspective. All right, so let's move back in. Thanks for humoring me on my little rabbit trail there talking about refereeing, but I thought that was interesting. So listen, you're at the Norden Group, you're a partner there. You've been a part of helping grow that and make it happen. You guys have this strategy where you have pretty tight relationships with centers of influence like CPAs and legal teams and things like that. And the industry's talking a lot about organic growth. I think that's an organic growth channel for sure. What led you to kind of go down that path, or what led you to have those tight relationships?
So let me give you a little bit of background. So when I was in my insurance career, I was recruited as, I think all of us that started on the life insurance side would understand this. You're recruited as this financial advisor, and then you get in and you're like, oh, actually, I'm here to sell a lot of life insurance because my health insurance is based on my production. My office subsidy is based on my, everything ends up being based on your life insurance production. We were in an office in 2010 or 11. We were in an office with an older gentleman that had been in the life insurance industry for a long time. We started the Norden Group in 2014. He stayed in the insurance side full circle. He introduced us to our investment mentor. So he had kind of started getting into more comprehensive financial planning. 2018, that mentor brought us back together, and we merged with him to basically be able to buy him out. He's actually the one that started a study group with multiple CPAs and multiple attorneys. So since he was the one that started it, he got to control who was in the group. He was the only financial advisor. There was multiple CPAs, multiple estate planning attorneys in the group. And every quarter, he would host a study group with these professionals in his office. He would bring in lunch, and every quarter it rotated who would be the presenter. Someone would bring a case to the group. So an estate planning attorney, a CPA, or our former partner, Ray Johns. And then they would get perspective from a CPA. They would get perspective from an estate planning attorney, and then, perspective from a financial planning attorney. So he had been building this network for years. And then when we merged with him in 2018, we just continued that study group and have become involved with that study group. This didn't happen overnight. It's been a slow roast for a lot of years.
And then, this is a question I find myself asking people who apply this strategy, because I love how you just laid that out, but that's kind of hard to scale, right? So is it more like find a handful of COIs that you're really tight with, or is it running a playbook across dozens and dozens of COIs and kind of treating it like, crab traps or something, where you go around and just pick up the crab trap and see if anything's there? Like, how do you have success with this?
Yeah. So my experience with CPAs and estate planning attorneys, it's very easy for us to give them referrals, but for some reason it seems very hard for them to reciprocate that. But because Ray has been working on that for so many years, I think he's built up a lot of trust over a long time. When my partner Garen and I merged with him in 2018, we're in our 40s. He was in his 60s. We have kept his study group intact, and we have duplicated that with younger COIs that we had been building relationships with for years in our career. So that's how we've done it, is we've just created multiple study groups at this point.
Okay. So you kind of have this study group playbook, but it's not, yeah. And I actually like that. I think there's something unique there for the audience, which is a lot of times when RIAs or advisors hear about study groups, it's like, go get with other advisors, right? And it's more so, hey, let me learn about what you're doing. I'll share what I'm doing. And that can be helpful. But you're talking about, hey, do study groups with the COIs. And what I'm hearing is that's the playbook, is here's how you set up a successful study group with COIs. So if you bring in a new advisor or you train a new advisor, it's like one of the things that we're going to encourage you to do is to go set one of these up. And it should have an estate planning attorney. It should have a CPA, you know, like this is what a study group should look like.
That's how we've done it. That's what's worked for us. Obviously, there's a lot of ways to skin the cat, but our personalities have felt comfortable doing it this way. And I think you got to do what feels comfortable, or else it will feel unnatural and people will feel that. I feel like that is true with a client or with a study group that you're making. And so for Garen and I, in our practice, we have 2 study groups. We've kept the original one. And then, like I said, we built it with some younger COIs, because most of Ray's COIs are around his age, maybe a little bit younger. And then we've created one around our age. And it was through years of golfing and hanging out. And unfortunately, I feel like we have to give first in this relationship. And maybe I have not figured out how to do it the other way around, but I feel like us giving first has lent itself to building that trust with. And we usually don't build it too big. I mean, I think that would probably be the other thing, is that's why we created another one. Because it's like, you get too many in the room, you get 10 CPAs all of a sudden and no one participates. It seems like 2 to 4 of each has been, that's how we've done it so far, is 2 to 4 CPAs, 2 to 4 estate planning attorneys, and then start another one.
No, that's really good. I appreciate you sharing that. And I hear you when you say, hey, this is like how we've decided to skin the cat or whatever. But I was having this conversation the other day about this, and it's like, every advisor is told you need to go develop COI relationships, right? Like, you know, when we talk about referrals, I think most people's minds go to getting referrals from other clients, but also all of the training, everything is, you also want to get referrals from CPAs, from estate planning attorneys, from all of these folks. But there's not a lot of great playbooks on how to go do that well, because all of these CPAs and attorneys are being hit up by all of the financial advisors in town saying, hey, I was told I got to develop relationships with you. So breaking through and actually being able to have a place where referrals and things like that are happening is tough.
I think too, what I would say is, we didn't ask for a while. It was like, hey, we want to learn together. We know enough to be dangerous in your industry. You know enough to be dangerous in our industry. We have enough crossover, but sometimes that's worse because you don't know about a certain tax code that's out there or whatever. So we would love to learn from you so that we're making your job easier and you're making our job easier and we're making each other better. So we started it without the premise of this is, what are those BNI? What is it? The BNI network groups or whatever? I can't do them, man. I do not have the personality for it. It feels so cringy to me. And so this was more about, hey, our firm is really based on education and we need to be better. And we feel like you can help us be better through this format. And then it's just been a natural progression into some referrals, as opposed to, hey, do you got anybody that this would fit? And once a year, we're for sure at least taking one of those, and we're maybe presenting an idea or an investment strategy or something. And that usually lends itself to, oh, I have actually clients that would fit that. So it's been more of a natural progression as opposed to, hey, do you have anybody that you could... Some people are really good at asking you for referrals. I wouldn't put myself in that boat. It's more of just been a natural progression through the study group.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that and being vulnerable about that, because I think there's a lot of people who could probably relate to that.
I wish I was that guy that could just go around and ask for it. And he asked it in such a good way that attorney or CEO was like, yeah, here it is. But I haven't found that in my career.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing I think is interesting. So you have all of this, you guys join, you kind of build the foundation, but according to the research in 2023, you all had 11 advisors join the Norden Group. So was that like 11 individual advisors? Was that a couple of teams? Like how did that come to be?
So full transparency, we started the Norden Group in 2014. but we were IARs of an RIA. We continued to grow. But during that time as IARs, obviously we were building relationships with other IARs that were part of that RIA. In 2018, we joined Town Square Capital. And we had always had in our mind that we wouldn't be ready to start our own RIA until we hit $1 billion. Don't ask me why. That's just what we had in our minds. And at the time when Orion purchased Town Square, we were at 600 million or so. I don't remember the exact number, but we knew that we were close. And we didn't want to take our clients through 2 transitions pretty close together. Because we were like, if we join someone else, we're going to hit $1 billion pretty soon. And then we're going to make them go through another change. That probably forced our hand a little bit. And we decided, okay, we're just going to start this RIA. And because we had built relationships with other advisors through Town Square Capital and had just done a good job of networking in that space, they had heard that we were starting our own RIA, and they were in the same boat as us, kind of looking for what the next steps were. And so we had kind of said, look, we're going to be at this amount, you join us, that's going to put us closer. And so I think it wasn't like we set out to build a firm by recruiting advisors. I think just being good people for lots of years and networking for lots of years, we were blessed with the opportunity to have some relationships with advisors that were looking for some homes, and they trusted us. And that's how we've grown so far.
Whether it was on purpose or not, I mean, lots of firms are growing right now by providing homes for advisors who, listen, I think what's happened is, and this is pretty well documented, but this huge rise of independence has been incredible for our industry. There's no doubt about it. It's been great. But a lot of people broke away from a big platform or a big, wirehouse or something like that. And, with this desire for independence, and didn't realize that independence also meant negotiating lease contracts, dealing with your phone provider. It wasn't just, hey, I'm going to be able to provide advice the way I want to, but you're full on owning a business now. And there's a lot of people who've come out and realized, hey, I actually don't want all of that portion of independence. I just kind of want to be in a platform where I can provide advice the way that I think it is best for my clients, which is great. It's fantastic. But you have a bunch of those people now who are looking for homes. But what I think that has created on the other side is it's hard to differentiate, well, what makes a good home for me, right? Do I go to one of these huge platforms that have all of these resources? Do I go to a Creative Planning or a Mariner or something like that? Do I go to a place where maybe they're an up and coming platform? They might not be huge now, but I'm making a bet on them that maybe they're going to be. But it all starts to become like RIA soup in some ways, right? So for you, you've had success getting people to come there. Maybe it's purely relationships and it was the long game.
Yeah.
But what do you think it is about the value proposition of the Norden Group, or what you guys kind of have put forth that people said, I want to come here instead of any of the other litany of options available to them?
Yeah. The other advisors may be better suited to answer that than myself, but I'll give it a stab. So Kurt Brown was the CEO and founder of Town Square Capital. Super dynamic. He was our investment mentor starting back when we were in the insurance side. So a lot of us that were involved in Town Square Capital had an insurance background, and he's the one that kind of taught us the industry from the investment side of things. And so I think it definitely helped that we were all using the same investment platforms. It wasn't going to be a huge shift for all of our clients, right? That felt comfortable to a lot of the advisors that have joined so far. I think the second biggest thing is that Garen and I are the majority owners of the Norden Group, and we know that we don't know everything. And we're very open with other advisors saying, look, we're here to learn along with people. And because of my sports background, I really, really enjoy working in a team environment. I tried at the individual route on the life insurance side. And if I wouldn't have found the comprehensive financial planning route, then I would have been out of the business, because I didn't enjoy going at it as a lone wolf. That just wasn't my personality. And so I think we've created an environment inside of our firm where we have 5 offices. We have one in Idaho Falls. We have one in Salt Lake. We have one in Provo, one in St. George, Utah. And then we just added a Newport Beach, California office. And we have weekly phone calls with every advisor. And every week, someone different is presenting what they're doing well that's working. And so we've created an environment where we share ideas. We don't feel like we own the market, that our way is the only way to do it. And so I think we've really tried to create this as good of an environment as possible where we're helping each other and we're pushing each other, even if that doesn't mean that we're financially gaining from it per se by helping someone else.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I actually think there's a lot to be said for continuity when thinking about all of this, right? Because even as you are looking at all the options out there, what, you highlighted it there without calling it out specifically, is there is still a lot of the fear of the unknown. Hey, I see all of these things, but how much changes are going to be? You want to be able to have continuity. So that makes a ton of sense to me, which is cool.
I was going to say, full transparency, as soon as our ADV hit $1 billion, all of a sudden we're getting hit up by all these aggregators and stuff. And if I'm being completely honest, even if it's a better financial move, like, it is difficult for me to see the value, because I'm like, there's only so many times, in my opinion, that you can disrupt the client's experience.
Yeah.
Without you losing some credibility. Like, wait, what's going on? Even if we think it's a great, hey, you're going to get all these resources, it's going to be better for you, it's blah, blah, blah. I think it creates doubt in your client's mind if you're moving all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man.
This podcast is brought to you by Turncast. We make game-changing content for fintech and financial services companies. Learn more at turncast.com.
I'd love to shift and talk a little bit about talent. So you're growing via advisors, right? But you're also at, according to my notes, 22 employees. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about right.
For a lot of firms that are growing quickly like you guys are, and you've got some nice kind of foundational stuff to help you grow, the war for talent is very real, right? So talk to me a little bit about what it looks like to recruit and develop talent at the Norden Group, because I know that's a challenge most RIAs like you are facing.
It's interesting that you asked that, because I don't know if I have the answer. We grew so fast that we're like, oh no, that's probably our next step, is where we're at in our growth, is adding some more talent on the support staff roles so that the advisors can kind of move forward to take their next step in the growth. We're lucky in the sense that our office is located in Provo, Utah, and there's a university, Utah Valley University. So we're lucky in the sense that we have a school in our backyard. Some of our employees right now are from that program. And so now that we're kind of at this precipice of needing to add more support staff, our plan is to continue to use UVU as kind of a feeder program, and we participate in their networking and events and stuff like that. We're actually in the process of building this out, Kyle, of centralizing some of our support staff or our outer offices, because we have the resources of Utah Valley University right in our backyard.
That's awesome. And again, UVU has a great financial planning program, all of that stuff, but you are still getting people who maybe this might be their first job coming out of college, maybe a couple internships. So I'm sure there's still a lot of like having to develop them, having to train them. How are you thinking about that? Are you guys trying to build out like a quote unquote formal training program? And I know you're right in the middle of it, so I kind of want to catch you while you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, we've got all these ideas. You caught us right smack in the middle of it. Our plan is to hire I don't know what the official role is going to be, but someone with financial planning experience that can oversee training the support staff. Our next hire is probably that role, to bring someone in that can full-time dedicate their time and efforts to developing that talent, whether it's out of UVU or whether it's someone with their first job. Just because I still have a personal practice, and most of our senior advisors have a personal practice. And so there's a high likelihood that I'm going to be continuing to graduate some of my personal clients to some of these support staff so that I can continue to get leaner, to lend my skill set to helping this person train our support staff. But we feel at this point that we need to hire a full-time position before we start bringing on more staff. Yeah. Because up to this point, Kyle, if I'm being honest, my support staff that handles my personal clients has been the training support, but it's maxing them out. We just can't afford to do that anymore, because we will lose, our personal clients will lose the personal touches that they've become accustomed to.
I love it. That's why we like having these conversations on the podcast, right? Because, sometimes when you're removed from it a little bit, which is great. I love getting that perspective and experience too. But sometimes when you're removed from it a little bit, you forget what it was like to be in the middle of it. But it's great every once in a while to catch someone who's like, yeah, we're going through this right now. And here's how we're thinking about it. Here's how
I haven't forgot. I think about it like daily right now.
But as you're talking, actually, that last statement you just made about having to hire more support staff because your clients are going to start to not receive the experience that you think is what the Norden Group should be putting forward. highlights, I think, one of the single biggest challenges that is talked about a little bit, but maybe not enough for folks like you who you start out, you start building this great practice, and then all of a sudden 11 advisors want to join. Well, your business overnight goes from being the practice that you run with your advisors and your partners run to you've got two businesses, right? You've got your business, which is running advice for your clients, which, by the way, is near and dear to you. A lot of times people can't just say, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to give up all my clients to other people because, the sweat of your brow led you to building that. But by the way, you've also got a whole enterprise now that is, I have to build a platform for 11 advisors to be successful. I've got to run health insurance. I've got leases. I've got offices. I've got to recruit from UVU. I've got to do all of this stuff, which is completely outside of managing the households that have trusted Seth to be their advisor. And I think there's a lot of tension in that for people. Like, yeah, the growth is all great, but what do you think about that? Do you think that you're going to get to a point where you say, hey, I've got to pick, right? We either have to hire a professional sort of CEO of the Norden Group, the enterprise, and I'm going to manage my clients and that's what I'm going to choose to do and just be an owner in this, or et cetera, et cetera. I think you see where I'm going, but this is just something that I find really fascinating because there's so many people in that seat. And I don't think they foresaw that issue coming when they started down the path.
No, I definitely did not foresee the issue. It was like, oh, you need a home? Great. We like to hang out. We like each other. We like to learn together. Let's do this. And then it's like, oh crap, you can't just like bring people on. So you hit the nail on the head, Kyle. We are right smack dab in the middle of trying to figure out how we're going to redeploy talent that we already have into what roles or hiring it out, because we have come to the realization that to continue forward, something has to change. We have to service less households so that we can build out those other things, or we have to continue to service the households that we want, or bring in other talent to take over those new responsibilities and roles. We have gotten to the point now where we have to do something. We have to make a change. And I wish I had more answers, but we have not come up with the answers yet. So you're catching us like, you are really catching us smack dab in the middle of this realization.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And, best of luck to you as you do that. I don't say that tongue in cheek because I know it's a tension and it's a stress. Everybody's thankful for the growth and the business and the success for the business. But, you're waking up every day going, man, that kind of got a two-headed monster here that I've got to deal with.
It is. It's two businesses. It's not the same. And when we first started bringing people on, we just, we're all doing the same thing. Yeah. Well, then all of a sudden, when you have the management responsibilities, it no longer is the same. It no longer is the same business. And to me, it feels like it has changed fast. There's definitely crossover that we found, but it is a different business, in my opinion.
To press in on that a little bit more, and I appreciate that you're saying, hey, we're smack dab in the middle of it, but Milemarker is a technology company, so I love to ask people a little bit about technology, right? But as you're thinking about how this is going, obviously there's certain technology you buy to help you scale the amount of households that you can work with as an advisor. But as you're starting to kind of bring on other advisors and thinking about what's a platform that the Norden Group's going to offer out to people, what kind of technology challenges are you experiencing while you're going through this issue of, hey, I'm transitioning from just being an advisor who runs a practice to I've got to run an enterprise?
I'll just kind of go through our tech stack with you, and maybe that'll be easier to start there. We use Wealthbox for our CRM. That has allowed us to get people up to speed much quicker and faster than a Salesforce, for example. In my opinion, it's a lot more user intuitive. And we have eliminated all intra-office communication through email. It all goes through Wealthbox. All of our intra-office communication goes through Wealthbox so that the communication is on the household. There's a record of it. We have staff that's remote, right? And so it allows us to not pick up the phone all the time and interrupt someone's day. So we're constantly refining that process to continue to try to get better at communicating through Wealthbox so that we're not interrupting through people's days. We use eMoney for our financial planning software. That has allowed us to lend support to anybody, right? Like my junior planner is lending support to our senior advisor in Newport Beach, but we're using the same planning system. So that allows us to kind of scale from that standpoint. We use Holistic Plan for tax reviews and P&C reviews. And then we use nitrogen as part of our proposal package and part of our compliance as well. At this point, we feel like our tech stack is deep enough. We're ready to dive deeper into leveraging our tech stack at this point. So there are 5 of us will be attending the nitrogen conference in Nashville at the end of October. And we were all real excited to see how much Holistiplan and nitrogen are presenting at that, because that's like, okay, we should, that's going to allow us to really get deeper in both of those. One of the things that we just started using is Holistiplan's tax letter, right? Like that's an example of being able to use our technology to service clients even better on a broader scale. So we feel at this point, we're kind of done adding tech. We're ready to go deeper into leveraging the tech that we do have.
Well stated. Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like we're almost going to have to do like a follow-up episode with you, sometime down the future and be like, all right, Seth, how's this going? How's this going? How's this going? And how's this going? Because
maybe in a year I can say, well, I screwed this up. We hit on this. Don't do that. Yeah. Maybe I'll have more feedback in a year.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the future, one of the questions I love to ask kind of as a segment of the show is for you to get out your crystal ball. So this doesn't just have to be for the Norden Group, but for the industry as a whole. You sit in a seat where you see all kinds of things coming along. You see what clients are asking for. You see what advisors are asking for. So Seth, get out your crystal ball, peer into the future a little bit for me, and tell me what you see coming for our industry down the pipe.
I mean, I really do wish I had a crystal ball, because then maybe I wouldn't be on this podcast. I'd be on a beach somewhere just chilling. But it seems pretty obvious to me at this point that the one-man shops are going to be really, really difficult to continue to operate, right? Like pricing is going to become more difficult. To leverage the technology that's out there with a one-man band is going to become more difficult. Clients are continuing to expect a higher level of service for the same amount of fee, or maybe even less of a fee. And so I think it's going to become more and more paramount that you surround yourself with a team of competent people. So the way we built our firm is Garen and I are both senior advisors. We've been in the industry for a long time, and we don't look at our personal practice as his clients or my clients. All of our clients know each other. Plus they know our junior advisor. Plus they know our client service manager. Plus they know our tech person. So I think that it almost takes 5 people or so to really give the proper service to 150 to 200 households. So I think the writing's on the wall that to do it by yourself is going to become difficult, because it's going to be easier for us to have a team like that to pick off clients that are working with a one-man shop.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of our teams now have 2 senior advisors involved with their households. It seems like that has lent itself to our growth strategy too. People feel comfortable in that meeting. They're not meeting with one person. Oftentimes we have 3 people in all of their initial consultations, 2 senior advisors and a junior planner. Some people might think that's inefficient, and I could probably agree with you on some sense, but it's worked for us. So
I mean, that's an interesting point. It has nothing to do really with like looking into the future, but I think there's certain aspects of the RIA business that we should be striving for efficiency on, right? Processing paperwork, not having to read through data, these different things. I actually don't think we should try to be efficient when it comes to relationships, because in a lot of ways that is all that we have in the service business. The goal is to obviously automate and make as efficient as possible the tedious stuff. But if we are too efficient with relationships, now you start to open the door to maybe AI can do all of this, or maybe robo-advisors can do all of it, right? Relationships are messy, but no matter how you slice it, but that's the beauty of it. And so I think it's cool to hear you say, maybe it's not that efficient to have 3 people in on it. Well, it might not be efficient, but I bet the client feels valued and served, because it's like, wow, look at the party they're bringing for little old me, right? Which I think is cool.
I mean, at the end of the day, Kyle, we like to think that we have a cool niche investment strategy or something. And there's some of those out there, but at the end of the day, like most of us have a commodity, right? Like you can go buy the SPY, you can go buy the NASDAQ or whatever. I truly feel we are in a relationship business, and that is the number one job that we have. My daughter recently asked me, she's getting older and she's trying to figure out what I exactly do. And she was like, I've heard you say that you wish you would have done a different major, because my major was exercise science. And I said, yeah, I wish I would have done psychology and econ. And she was like, why psychology? isn't that what mom does? My wife's a nurse practitioner in psych. And I'm like, well, money's very emotional. Like most of the time we're managing emotions, we're managing people. She's like, they cry in your office sometimes? I'm like, yeah, sometimes. And she, she was like so confused. We feel it's super important to treat the relationship number one. And that's why we do bring the party to the initial consultations.
Yeah, that's great, man. Great place to kind of segue into the final segment of the show. So we call this the Milemarker Minute. It's a series of lightning round questions, lighthearted questions to have some fun with. The goal is to try and ask and answer all of the questions in around a minute. So you think you're up for the challenge?
Let's try it. Let's do it,
man.
I like short and sweet.
Yeah. First question for you. If you could travel anywhere in the world that you've never been to before, where would you go?
Italy.
Awesome. Do you have a specific spot in Italy you'd like to go to, or just anywhere in the country?
I need to see the whole country. We were supposed to go in April of 20. Obviously, that never happened.
Actually, exact same story for me, by the way. Okay. If you did not become a financial planner, right, and you think you were in a different career right now, or if you were to do a different career, what career do you think that would have been?
I'm sure I would have been in some kind of sales career. I don't know what industry, but some kind of sales career for sure.
Yeah, cool. You said you played basketball for a long time. Who's your favorite basketball team right now?
Well, college, University of Arizona. I've grown up cheering for the University of Arizona. Pro sports, I really just follow people, right? Steph Curry, I could watch all day long. He's just a joy to watch to play basketball.
Awesome. All right. And then this tends to be a tough one, especially to kind of get done short and sweet, but I'm going to put it on you anyway. What is the best book that you have read in the last 12 months?
Unreasonable Hospitality and Atomic Habits. Can I give you two?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take two of them. Nice job. Unreasonable Hospitality is fantastic. I feel like I've gifted that book a ton to people recently.
I feel like those two books, Atomic Habits and Unreasonable Hospitality, there's kind of I feel like those two together go really well, actually.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right. Well, you did it. You made it through the Milemarker Minute. I really enjoyed the conversation, Seth, because I appreciate how sort of transparent and authentic you were about, yeah, this is all real. We have ideas on how we want to do a lot of this stuff, but it's, these are challenges we're going through, because most of the audience that listens to this are, I think, people in your seat, right? And sometimes it's great to talk to people who've been there and done that and get the perspective from them. But I think also too, it's good for them to be able to go, okay, I'm not alone. Other people are dealing with this. Like, yeah, Seth and the Norden Group's having a lot of success, but look, they're walking through all of the same stuff that we're walking through right now, which I think is great.
Follow up with me in a year and we can revisit all the mistakes and successes we've had from this point on.
I love that idea, man. I really do. So thanks so much for the insights you shared and some of the unique things. Like I'm taking away from this too. I really love the study group playbook for COIs, because everybody does talk about, hey, let's go do COI stuff. But I really like how yours is not just bring them a box of donuts and a coffee and ask if they have any referrals, but it is a kind of a productized way of building relationship with them and adding value. So that was really cool.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course, man. All right, everybody, that's been another episode of the Connected Advisor podcast. Please make sure to click follow or subscribe wherever you are consuming this. And if you'd be kind enough to leave us a review, I would greatly appreciate it, so that more and more people can find out about great conversations like this one with Seth. But until the next episode, have a great week.